You're watching Global Trade This Week with Pete Mento and Doug Draper.
I love it. Here we are, another edition of Global Trade This Week. I am your host, Doug Draper. I reside to you in the Intermountain West of Denver, Colorado, and my co-host on the other side of the country is my good friend, Mr. Pete Mento. Pete, Global Trade This Week, another edition. How you doing?
What the hell is Intermountain West? What is this? Is new to me, buddy. Intermountain West.
Yeah. So we're kind of like not all the way to the west. We're like Intermountain West. There you go. I explained it by restating my comment. So I don't know.
Doug, sometimes I think that you and Keenan say things about Colorado just to force me to Google things after the show.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's all right, man. I learned something cool today. So Intermountain West.
Intermountain West. So, well, how is the Great Granite State then?
It's always fabulous. The air is cleaner. The people are freer. The guns are more bountiful. This is a kooky place, man. This is, for those of you who've never been to New Hampshire, not big on rules out here, not big on requesting permission. This is about as close to chaos and anarchy as you're going to get in this country. But, you get used to it. It's a fascinating place to be, but I live in probably the only big city. But the farther you get from this big city, the more it turns into sort of a Stanley Kubrick film. The farther you get away from here, so it's a lot of fun, buddy. It's a lot of fun.
Good. All right, Stanley Kubrick films and Intermountain West. I think that's a great way to kick this show off. So, what do you got for us? Topic one.
Yeah, topic one goes back to what seems to every couple of weeks we got to talk about EVs, man. We got to talk about electric vehicles, and I get to tie in global trade this week with electric vehicles. So one of the big problems you have with building electric vehicles is you have to get the rare earth minerals and the rare minerals necessary to build the batteries. And most of the necessary materials to do that, unfortunately, for those of us on this hemisphere, are in China. So it forces the United States and companies engaged in building, these pretty cool cars to have to go over to that side of the world and hat in hand beg for them. That's not necessarily going to be the case anymore. So it turns out that Chile, that beautiful country that is known for being pretty progressive in the way that they deal with the United States, pretty open-minded, pretty cool about working with us, happens to be sitting on some of the largest deposits of available rare earth minerals in the world. So, Doug, not only do they have access to rare earth minerals, they're available. Massive distinction. So for those of people who are watching, there's all kinds of rare earth materials all over the world, but it's just hard to get to them, hard to access them. They can get to them in Chile. People don't want to invest in the necessary mining in Chile until we have a free trade agreement, a bilateral with Chile. Because right now, the trade agreements that are in place would not give them provisional duty-free treatment back and forth for not only those materials, but for the equipment necessary to get to them. Everybody wants to do it. There's bilateral support for it by Cameron, Democrat and conservative. The issue is that Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell don't want to give the necessary time on the 2 weeks necessary on the floor to do it. They're just slowing it down. But it's just got to happen in order for this to go. So it's strange, we talk so much about the necessary infrastructure to do this, how we've got to have the charging. Nothing's going anywhere on this until we can actually get the parts necessary to become truly independent. If you look at the way that this infrastructure bill was proposed and what it takes for you to get a car that lives up to the tax structure, it's got to be North American made, bud. It's got to be made by an American company and produced in North America. So many of the EVs that we're talking about will not live up to the standards necessary. And a huge part of the cost of that comes from the battery. And this is a way to get around that. So they better work this out. I've seen some of the new EVs that are coming out. They are pretty cool. I saw Rivian for the first time ever out on the open road the other day. not my kind of truck, but I can see where the appeal is. It's beautiful. I keep seeing these cyber trucks again, not my kind of thing, but I can see the appeal. These new Dodge cars, pretty badass. The fact that you could do a burnout in rear-wheel drive, that's pretty awesome. And anytime that you can walk off the dealer's showroom, out of the dealer's showroom with a 1,500 horsepower car that goes 0 to 60 in less than 1.7 seconds, and it's made in America. The idea that it's going to cost less than $70,000, I think, for the top of the line model, and you can go out of the showroom with something not too far off of that sort of base horsepower for like 50 grand. That's going to have guys buying those cars again and probably cruising up and down the main street. So I don't know. I think it's cool. I'll be the last guy probably to buy an electric car, but this Chilean trade deal has to happen in order for this to get moving forward. But
yeah. Speaking of a Rivian, I saw one yesterday coming over for folks in Colorado, over Berthoud Pass, coming out of Winter Park. It was climbing and hauling ass. The thing was in my rearview mirror, and they have a very distinct headlight pattern.
Yeah.
And I was with my wife, and I'm like, you got to check out. I was super excited. I'm like, check out this car, check out this car, check out it. I drove right by, and she was like, what? It looks like a pickup truck to me. So anyway, but I like your point. It's kind of, I've made this mention before, the BASF. We don't make the things that you buy, we make the things that you buy better. This is a perfect example, right? I mean, it's all great to plug something in your garage and feel good about what you're doing for the environment. But the reality is those components come from a lot of different places. And even with electric vehicles is as well. So, I think the mining is definitely something that is something we're going to have to continue to deal with. And I'm sure it'll develop some friction because people don't have a good concept. Promoting other podcasts, Pete, we've not done that recently, but on the Uptime Logistics podcast, I've interviewed some folks that were involved with the Arizona Mining Association. And there is so much copper that they're mining down there. And I think the accessibility that you made mention of is key. But one of their videos is two kids in a bedroom, and they pull out the laptop, and one says, hey, cool laptop. And then they have this video for like 45 seconds. It just reverses everything of where that laptop was built. So everything's in reverse, and it goes all the way back to a copper mine in Arizona to say that laptop wouldn't exist without this rare earth material, which is exactly what you're talking about. That's so cool. I think there's a lot of credence there.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I was on my motorcycle not too long ago, and I was on the highway, and I move at a pretty good clip. I'm probably doing 100 miles an hour, to be very honest.
Seriously?
Yeah, I was probably doing 100 miles an hour on my Harley. And one of those higher, I think the Plaid, it had to be, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. These Teslas are quick. Just blew past me. I saw, like you said, in the rearview mirror, and it was a 3-lane highway, and I was over in the middle lane, but I got over to the right-hand lane, give this guy some room. And it was like those moments in the Autobahn when somebody in a Lamborghini just goes right past you, And it was probably doing easily 130, 140 miles an hour. Mm. And my first thing that I realized was that's really cool. And the gearhead in me was like, God, I got to get a car that fast, just to play around with. But then the gearhead in me said, I'm not going to buy a car that looks like that. Yeah, I'm not going to, but now that we're at the point where Porsche is making cars that are going to have that kind of performance, and Dodge is making cars, and Ford's making cars, and there's going to be somebody who's going to put an electric engine in a car that looks like an old Shelby. And when that happens, dudes like me that drink Bud Heavies and smoke Marlboros and have knuckle dragging arms, they're going to go out and they're going to start buying those cars. And I think that's where the difference is going to come. But I'm telling you, man, I'll be buying diesel pickup trucks and real gas Jeeps for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So what do you got for us, Doug?
Well, my first one is talking a little bit about something called a digital twin. And excuse me. So digital twins can exist in lots of different aspects of life beyond supply chain. But for those of you that may not know, have heard of the term before, it's essentially a virtual kind of representation of a physical thing. So in this example, it'd be a virtual representation of a physical supply chain. where you can analyze and do dynamics and predict accessibility. So it's kind of like a game where you could flip the switch here and turn this level there and kind of see how the supply chain would come out. Data analytics, I guess, would be the modern day version of it. Highly complex, things of that nature. You can identify potential bottlenecks in your supply chain, plan strategies, facilities, where to place inventory, even how things are being consumed in your commodities. So it's like, the traditional forecasting model that would be the equivalent of a 1980s fax machine and just hyper looped it into space. And I think that the terminology you're going to hear more and more, and I really think that there's some value in it, right? With the Internet of Things continue to mature and how everything is going to be connected, I think digital twin will be used more and more to be predictive, analytical, and make supply chain decisions happen quickly. And the reason I came up with this topic today, Pete, was really I was looking at another article today that talked about the supply chain and how ports were congested and rates were going to go up. And then I looked back and like 2 months ago, they were talking about rates were going to go down and volumes were continuing to pressure. And just the media fluctuation of what's going on in the world related to supply chain is such a popular topic right now. It seems like everybody is rushing. And when I see everybody, I'm mostly talking media. You and I hopefully are rolled up into that because we do have a pod here, and I think we enjoy it and we're educational. But I think that there's so much noise out there about how things change so dramatically, and everybody wants to have the first piece of information related to this new data point, is that I think that good predictors and good companies that are trying to figure out their supply chain are going to turn that noise level off, look at the digital twin model, and really plug and play their own specific supply chain so they can see really how are things going to be impacted in their world, their universe, and what they do for their business. Because I think there's a lot of distraction out there about what is going to happen there, what's going to happen here. And I think a digital twin is very specific to a supply chain. And if used properly and with the technology continue to expand, specifically the Internet of Things, I think it's going to be a very robust tool to use and really engage. So I'm a fan of digital twin. Let's see how it evolves.
Yeah, man. You brought up something that I've been listening to a lot about, and that is this concept of sort of gaming things. And when I went to graduate school, one of my favorite things that I fell in love with and I ended up teaching was game theory. And that is this basic concept of using mathematical analysis to understand the likely outcome on as much information as was readily available. So based on all necessary inputs and based on all available inputs, what is the likely outcome? So when you have a digital twin, you should be able to game the possible outcomes, which is wonderful. We don't do a lot of it. When you look at the military, one of the things that they've been doing a lot of lately is taking human beings and making them do war games again and saying, if Russia does this in Ukraine, what's the likely outcome? If there was an invasion in Miami by the Cubans, whatever, just making them actually go through it, and then using machine learning and AI to take what was done by human beings, bring it to the next level. And what you're talking about here is a great opportunity. It's a fabulous opportunity to take all of those things and combine them, to take all that data and do something with it. One of the saddest things about sort of the datification, the money balling of logistics, is that most of the people who are doing it don't know a goddamn thing about logistics, Doug. They pull all this data from everywhere and they say, see, look what I've done. Can I have a gold sticker on the refrigerator? Look at how brilliant I am. But they don't understand what the trends are teaching them. It's like they get on the scale and the scale says, hey, you're fat. But no one says, well, how do I make a diet work? What's the next step? Show me how to work out. They don't have the courage to take that information and do something with it. This is where combining that brilliance of data analytics with real hardcore understandings of what goes on in our industry and forcing people to really game it and allowing those models to go through again and again and again and trusting the process and trusting those analytics could really do our business a lot of good. I don't think anyone's taken the time to really try to do that, try to monetize it and turn it into a real business. Somebody ought to. Maybe we should, Doug.
Yeah. Good points. All right, halftime. I love it.
Yeah.
Of course, it's brought to us by Cap Logistics. They're the guys. Keenan, I always say push the button, turn the levers. We wouldn't be here, being able to have some fun and pontificate on what we think is right or wrong in the supply chain. So
right.
caplogistics.com. Thank you very much. Please visit their website. All right, Pete, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, the things I hate the most, right? Young people and fit people. Young fit people. Well, I've been reading a lot about this quiet quitting. Have you been reading about the quiet quitting?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And this idea, this concept of just saying, I'm slowly going to just do my job. And we've had a lot of chats about this, but here's what I wanted to really share with the audience today. The concept is simple. I'm just going to do what I was paid to do from the time I'm paid to do it until the time I'm not paid to do it. So when you read all these articles, Doug, that's essentially the gist. It's not I'm going to do less than I was told to do. It's that I'm not going to do more than I was told to do. So let's say you have an 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock job in our industry, as an example. And there are very defined things that you're supposed to do. I'm going to do those defined things. I'm going to do them from 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock. And after 5 o'clock, I'm not going to do them. In my experience, just doing that is pretty rare. There's a lot of people in this business that if we could just get a whole company of people to just commit to being focused and engaged and giving a damn about churning out good quality work for 8 solid hours a day, you would have a top 5 logistics firm. For everybody, operations, sales, IT, admin, HR, if everybody committed to doing their job for 8 hours a day. So I would challenge these snot-nosed pains in the ass that are claiming that now I'm quiet quitting. What were you doing before? Were you really committed to working, or were you working 5 hours over a 12-hour span? Because I do understand the idea of having demanding bosses who expect you to work beyond the times that you've agreed to work. That's not fair. If you've been told by someone that you're not supposed to be working after 5 o'clock, then you shouldn't be working after 5 o'clock. And if people are being disruptive of your personal life after 5 o'clock, then that's something you should have a chat with them about, because that is not fair. But that's part of the gig. That's part of the gig, baby. And you and I have been working for a long time. And the number of phones I've seen thrown across rooms, the number of personal holidays, birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, you name it, that have been utterly destroyed because of something that's gone wonderfully wrong in this business. I can't even keep count. I gave a seminar the day after my daughter was born because she was early. I was there the day after my daughter was born in Boston, Massachusetts for Expeditors, in Peabody, Massachusetts in front of 80 people, giving an import compliance seminar. Sold out crowd because I had to do it. The number of times I had to fly to Hong Kong, give one speech or give one meeting, get back on a plane and fly back because I had something I had to do 12 times, or Shanghai or Amsterdam or Buenos Aires, or you name it. This is not a business for the meek. Logistics is a business for people who are going to work very, very, very hard, because the people that we do it for aren't giving us the money away for free. And I think that if you're going to do this business and you're a young person, we welcome you, but understand our expectations are going to be very high.
Mm-hmm. I have nothing else to say to that, Pete, because you just nailed it all.
Go quiet quit it at like Morgan Stanley, dude. Like go quiet quit at Fidelity. Don't come to FedEx or UPS or like C.H. Robinson or like one of these. Go quiet quit a truck broker. They're gonna find you like in your car crying, because you're gonna get fired fast. Truck brokers ain't gonna put up with that stuff. We're in a warehouse. You're like, why is that guy over there sitting around? We got a lot of work to do. This is not the business for that, man. It's just not the business for it.
Agreed.
Sorry, I get emotional. What do you got, man?
All right.
Oh, I know
All
what
right.
you have. I can't wait for this.
Yes, this one caught my attention literally just this morning. I'm like, bingo, that is the halftime. So there's this farmer, got to give him credit. His name is Dwayne Hanson. He's from Nebraska. He's been growing, his whole thing is like large pumpkins, right? He's been growing large pumpkins, went to a seminar on how to grow them, and he's been growing this one pumpkin for 10 years. And over the weekend, he set a world record by paddling down 41 miles of the Missouri River inside of this pumpkin, rowing in a pumpkin down the Missouri River. He set a world record. The previous record was like 25 miles. The fact that there's even a previous record of this thing is baffling to me. It's comical. But this guy grew a pumpkin for 10 years, gored it out. He's literally inside of the pumpkin. He's in the pumpkin. And I know Keenan will put a link here to see this thing out. And he took, he probably just got a paddle from a canoe that he had or whatever from like the 80s. And he's got this paddle. He's got a baseball cap on. He's got like a white beater, white T-shirt on, and he's just hauling ass down the river. 41 miles, right? And the two funny things on this one, first of all, Dwayne Hanson is a baller, dude. I think that is phenomenal to come up with that idea. The two things on this deal that he said is to figure out the buoyancy and where he needed to cut it and how it needed to sit, that he decided to put it into a cement pond, which you and I would call the swimming pool, to figure out the buoyancy.
Yeah.
And then he took it out and then he gored it out. But the most funny thing, and I got to find this to read exactly, this is crazy. He said that he wasn't sure if he could do it because he's never been in a pumpkin before rowing down a river. And I'm like, ugh. So when I read this whole thing, Pete, I'm thinking, you know what? As crazy as the world is, and you hear about heat, flooding, fires, craziness, the whole world, you sit here and here's this guy in Nebraska that threw himself in a pumpkin and he just rode down the river. It makes me say I need to move to a small town in the Midwest and just really focus on what's important in life. But anyway, love this story. Dwayne Hanson, you're a big baller. Congratulations.
So Doug, here's my response. Is there a Guinness Book of World record for tandem, two people in a pumpkin? Because if there isn't, you and I are going to grow a pumpkin and we're going to see how far we have to go. I mean, no matter, if there isn't one, just the fact that the two of us try to row together in a giant pumpkin, even if we go like 50 feet, that's the new record. Yeah. So I think that we should see what the record currently is, if there is one. If there isn't, we need to set the record. Yeah. Second of all, that's the Missouri River. I live above the Merrimack River. I mean, it's visible from every window in my home. I think we should do something on the Merrimack River where we try to grow a pumpkin on the Merrimack River. I don't think I have 10 years to grow a pumpkin though, pal. That's that is quite a feat in and of itself.
Yes. I'm sure Dwayne will hook us up if we need to. I don't know, but I love the idea. Different river, different coast, different everything, and we should do it.
Man, all love and respect out to Dwayne for doing this. That's great. That's America right there. That's like rock and roll cruise missiles and the photo mat. I gotta give it up to you, man. Way to go, Dwayne.
Yeah.
We should get Dwayne
so I
on
don't
the
know
show.
if Keenan's going to put it up there or down below, but there'll be a link. There will definitely be a link to go check this guy out.
We need Dwayne on the show.
Yeah.
But thank you to Cap Logistics for keeping the show going, and that's it for halftime.
You got it. All right, man. Let her rip. Topic 2.
Topic number 2. When you begin to read the infrastructure bill for our lovely Congress gave us, one of the things that they did is they actually made it easier for companies to build nuclear power plants. This completely caught me by surprise. I listened to 3 different podcasts over the course of the past week that pointed this out. They're actually quietly encouraging new construction. So most of what you hear in the news right now is about, possibly a nuclear disaster in Ukraine. There's a lot of talk because of the 3 Mile Island documentary that's out right now What people aren't talking about are the incredible scientific strides that have been taken in safety. The fact that we simply don't have problems in this country with nuclear power. And that it's gotten safer and safer and safer and more efficient, more environmentally safe, and incredibly, incredibly powerful over time. If we're going to rely on electricity to drive people all over the place, we're going to have to get the electricity from someplace. Right now in Europe, you have coal plants firing up again, and we don't need that here. I was watching that Dope Sick with Amy the other day, and part of it, there's people in these coal mines in like West Virginia. I mean, I know that's a financially lucrative way to make a living, but I can't imagine it's a nice one. And I don't want to live in a country where we force people to do that or to keep people's Teslas moving. So nuclear power, man, it's making a comeback. I see a real opportunity here to make electricity from it. I've spoken in the past before about electrified container vessels. This electricity has to come from someplace. Let's bring it from the most powerful science we have, which is splitting the atom to make electricity. The time has come, Doug. It's time for people to understand what it means and how safe it actually is. Enough.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I love it. We spoke about it a little bit, but it's the marketing, like anything else in the world. You got to market it, because things that happened decades ago, generation ago now, related to 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl, that's what's going to draw the headlines. But at some point, it's going to pivot, and all the benefits you laid out are real. They're happening right now, and it can make an impact.
Dare I say it? Let the Navy run it, buddy. Let the Navy run it. All right, nice. Man, take us home. What do you got, Doug?
All right. Well, this one, when I was thinking about it, I'm like, this is a very Pete Mento-esque type of topic. You know, I'm usually into trucks and trains and all kinds of other stuff. So I'm queuing this one up for some good feedback. So I'm going to keep mine super simple. But I was just thinking this weekend about all the military exercises and the intensified pressures and tactics that China has around Taiwan. Everybody's kind of pounding their chest a little bit. And what does that mean for U.S. imports? And on a very simplistic way, you know, there's uncertainty in the region. There's a really long runway, so to speak, as far as doing any negotiations with Taiwan to have some stability there. And the big picture is that we've made a commitment to say we will stand by Taiwan. So we've kind of drawn a line in the sand to some degree when Biden made that, when we had some of our politicians go over and be on soil. So we kind of got this triangle of Taiwan, U.S., China. We're trying to negotiate with everybody at once and nobody all at the same time. And what that means is uncertainty. And when people have uncertainty, they can start to panic. So I think that what's going to happen is there's going to be the equivalent of panic buying to some degree. You know, the best thing that we've seen in the past is the toilet paper craziness. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be a toilet paper run out of Taiwan, but if you think about that same concept, when there's uncertainty, there will be panic buying. So there will be a stress on the supply chain in Taiwan. Whether something actually happens or not, it's the potential of something happening, positive or negative. So the forward lean on this one, Pete, is you and I made this comment years ago, pre-COVID, is you better have a plan B, because sourcing in Taiwan is going to be a little bit crazy. And if you are a company that has a tough or a tight supply chain in Taiwan, you better be hyper-focused on what the plan is there specifically. So if you have different things you're working on and your product comes and touches or goes through Taiwan, you better focus there, or you're going to have potential problems moving forward. So it's going to continue to be a discussion. Right now, it's political in nature, but you're going to see the direct implications of products and tangible things coming out of that market pretty quick.
Yeah. It's going to be more than quiet political, too. I think that the whole world is watching. It's just not us. It's weird how everyone just slowly let it happen in Taiwan, let the semiconductor thing be so based in Taiwan, and how we allowed over decades for it to almost become not single source, but damn near. And now the United States is going to be investing billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars to bring it back home. And we're hearing that best case, 10 years, maybe quicker on some of the stuff, but best case about a decade. And that's why, Doug, I'm going to make a big prediction. 10 years from now, China's going to continue to buzz around and be obnoxious, but they're not going to do it. 10 years. 10 years is a blink in the eyes to Xi Jinping. 10 years. As soon as America starts its fab plants, as soon as things start to go okay here, we're going to let him invade. We're not going to say a damn thing about it. We're like, there is no longer any financial strategic benefit for us with Taiwan. You're welcome. Enjoy. We're just going to let him invade. We're going to let him invade. And then we're going to say to the rest of the world, who needs chips? We're open.
We should, yeah. Wow. That I had not even thought of that, and it makes a lot of sense. As disheartening as it may, I can see why it would make sense.
We're going to let them invade. And if Taiwan's smart, they're going to see it coming, and they're going to work something out. And before those 10 years, they're going to come up with some kind of a treaty, and it's all going to be okay. And I'm telling you, man, we're going to let them invade. We're going to say you no longer serve any purpose to us other than a political bargaining chip. Strong do what they will, but weak accept what they must. 10 years.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, when you're on a boat somewhere and I'm on a beach, you'll have to call me and in 10 years and we'll talk about it.
Dude, I'll still be working. These kids are expensive. What are you, crazy? I mean, someone's got to teach Keenan how to shave in 10 years. It's not going to.
I love it.
And with that, that's going to do it for another fantastic episode of Global Trade This Week, brought to you by our great friends at Cap Logistics. As always, Keenan's back in the booth, making it all happen. And I was fortunate enough to have my good friend Doug with me. And we'll see you again next week with another great episode. Doug, thank you so much. I can't wait for another one. I'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
okay. Thanks, Pete.
Bye, bud.